On the evening of February 26, 2021, a horrifying act of violence unfolded in the parking lot of a Walmart on MacArthur Road in Whitehall Township, Pennsylvania. The peaceful Friday night was shattered when gunfire erupted, leaving two young people critically injured. The victims were 20-year-old Nicolette Nikki Law, a vibrant and ambitious young woman with dreams of becoming a nurse, and Jonathan Martinez, a young father. What was supposed to be a routine custody exchange turned into a nightmare when an argument escalated beyond control, ending in gunshots that would change two families forever. Nicolette was rushed to a nearby hospital, but despite the efforts to save her, she was pronounced dead less than an hour later. Jonathan was also critically wounded and fought for his life in intensive care. The shooter fled the scene, leaving chaos and heartbreak behind. As news of the tragedy spread, Whitehall police immediately launched a homicide investigation, carefully collecting evidence, reviewing surveillance footage, and interviewing witnesses to piece together what had happened that fateful night. Their relentless pursuit of the truth would eventually uncover the chilling details of the attack and bring the person responsible to justice. This is the story of Nicolette Law. Nicolette Law was born on March 26, 2000, in Allentown, Pennsylvania, to her parents, Natalie Law and Richard Miranda. She was affectionately called Nikki by those who loved her. Nikki's arrival brought immense joy to her family because her birth helped her parents heal from a deep tragedy, the loss of their first child, Nicholas, who had passed away 3 years earlier. Nicolette also had a sister named Sherelle. Sadly, when Nicolette was still just an infant, her parents' relationship began to deteriorate, and they eventually separated. After the separation, Natalie decided to take Nicolette and move to Georgia to be closer to family. Once they relocated, Nicolette's father, Richard, gradually became estranged from her life. Fortunately, her uncle Nathaniel stepped in and took on a fatherly role, offering the guidance and love Richard had left behind. As Nicolette grew, she was remembered as a fun-loving, curious child with a bright spirit. She loved playing dress-up, dancing, and listening to music. She began her education in Valdosta, Georgia, where she attended school up through her sophomore year. Later, Nicolette returned to Allentown, Pennsylvania, where she completed her high school education at Agora Cyber Charter School. After graduation, she started working at Manor Care Health Services in Allentown. Nicolette dreamed of becoming a nurse, a passion many believed she inherited from her grandmother, Sarah Law, who had spent 30 years working in healthcare before she passed away. Through nursing, Nicolette hoped to give back to her community and help others in meaningful ways. By 2021, Nicolette had blossomed into a kind, loving, and vibrant young woman. She was known for her warm personality, her caring spirit, and her infectious smile. When she wasn't working or helping others, she loved fishing and camping with her uncle. Around this time, she also discovered a talent for playing musical instruments. She had a strong support system made up of loving friends and family. With her goals set and a clear vision for her future, everything seemed to be falling into place for Nicolette. On February 26, 2021, just before 7 p.m., the Whitehall Police Department in Pennsylvania received an urgent call. Dispatchers were told there had been gunshots outside the Walmart on MacArthur Road, located in Whitehall Township. Another call mentioned that there had been an argument leading up to the shooting. When officers arrived, they found a horrific scene. Two people, a male and a female, were lying on the ground near a running vehicle in the parking lot. Both had sustained serious gunshot wounds. Authorities quickly transported the victims to a nearby hospital. Tragically, at 7:40 p.m., 20-year-old Nicolette Law was pronounced dead. With Nicolette's death confirmed, the investigation shifted from a case of assault to a homicide investigation. Detectives immediately began piecing together what had happened. They first spoke with the 911 caller, who only knew that there had been an argument, followed by gunshots. Unfortunately, this left investigators with very few leads. The situation was further complicated because Nicolette was deceased, and the male victim, later identified as Jonathan Martinez, was fighting for his life in the hospital. At the scene, police recovered 3.25 caliber shell casings near the victim's vehicle. Beyond that, there was little evidence to work with. Investigators then turned to surveillance footage from the Walmart parking lot. The video showed Nicolette arriving in a vehicle with another man, later confirmed to be Jonathan Martinez. Shortly after their arrival, a black Toyota pulled into the lot. Within 45 seconds, a man exited the Toyota, opened fire, and chaos broke out. The shooter's companions sped away in the Toyota, leaving him behind. After the shooting, the gunman fled on foot, escaping the scene. The following day, detectives focused on identifying both the shooter and the people who had been with him. They began interviewing family members and friends connected to the victims, hoping to uncover a lead. Their efforts paid off. They soon identified a suspect, 22-year-old Edward Jimenez. On Sunday, February 28, 2021, Edward was arrested and taken to headquarters for questioning. At first, Edward denied everything, but detectives confronted him with key pieces of evidence. Witness testimony placing him at the scene. Data from Nicolette's cell phone, which connected him to the events of that night. Realizing the evidence against him was overwhelming, Edward finally confessed and revealed what had happened. Edward explained that on the evening of February 26th, he went to the Walmart parking lot with his girlfriend, his sister, and his sister's boyfriend. The purpose of the meeting was to exchange custody of his girlfriend's 3-year-old son. Nicolette arrived in a separate vehicle with Jonathan Martinez, who was the child's father. At the time, Jonathan had custody of his son. When they arrived, Jonathan handed the boy over to his mother without issue, but tensions quickly escalated. Edward and Jonathan already had a conflict earlier in the day, and when they came face to face again during the exchange, Edward lost his temper. In a fit of rage, Edward pulled out a gun. He aimed at Nicolette first, shooting her once in the head and once in the neck. She immediately collapsed. He then turned the gun on Jonathan, shooting him once in the head. The people who had arrived with Edward, his girlfriend, sister, and sister's boyfriend, panicked and sped away in their vehicle, leaving Edward standing alone in the parking lot. Edward fled on foot, tossing the firearm into the snow in a grassy area just outside the Walmart lot. In under 45 seconds, Edward Jimenez had left 2 young people critically wounded, lying in the Walmart parking lot. Police reports confirmed that Edward shot both victims, 20-year-old Nicolette Law, who died that evening, Jonathan Martinez, who was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Edward was initially charged with homicide, attempted homicide, and aggravated assault. Sadly, on March 7, 2021, Jonathan Martinez succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead. The Lehigh County Coroner's Office ruled his death a homicide. With Jonathan's passing, prosecutors informed Edward and his attorney that his charges were upgraded to 2 counts of murder. They also made it clear that they would be seeking the ultimate penalty in court, a potential death sentence. Faced with this, Edward decided to accept a plea deal. In exchange for avoiding the death penalty, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of third-degree murder. He was sentenced to serve between 45 and 100 years in prison, meaning he will be eligible for parole only after completing 45 years behind bars. The senseless violence cut short 2 young lives. Nicolette Law, a bright, loving young woman with dreams of becoming a nurse, never got the chance to fulfill her ambitions. Jonathan Martinez, a young father, lost his life trying to navigate a difficult custody situation. While Edward Jimenez will spend decades in prison, the pain caused by that night will forever linger in the hearts of both families. Rest in peace, Nicolette Law and Jonathan Martinez.